Modernist painting arrived at its exemplary realization in 1907 with Picasso's Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. The Demoiselles finally gave modernist painting an axial turn away from the subject and toward the object. The turn toward the object in Picasso's practice turns on his handling of the human body. Beginning with the Demoiselles and then after the interlude called Cubism, returning to it in the 1920s, the body is not so much an object represented, as it is for nearly all previous painting, but a condition for the possibility of pictorial space. Only by thus conceiving the body object could Picasso so radically transform modern art. This somewhat opaque way of articulating Picasso's achievement depends upon the philosophical framework of Adorno's critical theory. Let me quickly sketch the relevant background. The well-known phrase from the preface to Negative Dialectics, by critical self-reflection to give the Copernican revolution an axial turn. Let me repeat that. That's kind of Adorno's model and almost completely opaque. By critical self-reflection to give the Copernican revolution an axial turn is a useful one for summarizing Adorno's critical project as a whole. The Copernican revolution is, of course, Kant's. The basic, this central philosophical idea governing Kant's system is that the basic features that make experience possible, substance, causality, space, time, etc., which previously had been identified as features of things in themselves, features of the world itself, were now to be transferred to the faculty of knowing, to reason itself, to what has come to be called transcendental subjectivity. On Kant's view, reason thus becomes the lawgiver to nature, legislating the very idea of a natural world. Adorno employs Kant's conception of transcendental subjectivity to summarize and model the historical path through which reason, that was to be the instrument of freedom and reconciliation with nature, on becoming total, drives out all other forms of reasoning and consequently reverts into its opposite, a source of domination and separation. Adorno contends that Kant's idea of transcendental constitution is, while philosophically false, socially and historically true. What is consolidated in the idea of the transcendental subject is the socially mandated precedence of abstract categories of identity and exchange over their objects. Hence, the idea of providing the Copernican turn with an axial rotation toward the object as the programmatic movement of negative dialectics means demonstrating, and this is the crux of the matter, demonstrating how the object of cognition is more than, different from, and non-identical with how it appears in the context of instrumental reason. That is to say, the context of capital production and modern science. And further, how we subjects depend upon what we assume to dominate and control. Modernism is the operation of negative dialectics in art. It is that art practice that criticizes abstract rationality by remaining a repository for an alternative, mimetic rationality. Modernism thereby becomes the voice of sensuous particularity, and so nature, against abstract rationality. In brief, this is the core thesis of Adorno's aesthetic theory, and it is also what Picasso accomplished in the Demoiselles.